Hello and welcome back to the SpyshackPodcast, a podcast where Survivor superfans get together and talk about the latest episode of Survivor. Tonight we are talking about episode 4 of Survivor Ghost Island. Doug, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well.
Everything's freezing up on us here, I think.
Hopefully it doesn't keep happening.
Yep.
But I'm doing good.
Tell us one word that you would use to describe this episode.
Exciting. This episode was exciting.
No, I would agree with that. I think I did not think of a word. I'm so terrible at this every single week. But suspense. I think my word's going to be suspense there. We were left in quite a bit of suspense multiple times during the episode. So that was fun. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Right when the episode begins, we see right after Tribal Council, Dominic and Wendell come back to camp and regroup after being blindsided and being surprised. They try to apologize to Angela on the way there. Dominic comes clean about his real idol to Wendell. And the next morning, Dominic finds the legacy advantage from Morgan. What'd you think of this?
I thought it was fine. I think they handled it relatively well as far as being blindsided goes. I like the fact that Dominic said, "Are we going to talk about it?" And they pretty much said no. And he was like, "All right, fine. Then I'm going to talk to my people." You know?
Yeah, exactly. I think Dominic loves having one-on-ones with people, telling them about his idol, as we'll see multiple times this episode. And also, I thought it was kind of funny that one thing we called out last week was that Donathan wasn't really involved in the decision. But then when they came back to camp, he's the one that spoke up, being like, "Well, we decided to stay strong."
Yeah.
And so I thought that was kind of an interesting note there, because we didn't see him at all last episode. So this was kind of interesting to see him kind of speak up here.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's not a whole lot you can really do to argue with that because the original Naviti got played, you know? So absolutely. When they say that, there's not a whole lot they could do.
Yeah, and I think so when Dominic eventually finds the legacy advantage from Morgan, he seems pretty happy. We'll see how he uses that. I like that it's someone in like Dominic's hands who is a wild card already. He may not be the smartest player, but he's an exciting and a fun player.
Yeah.
So I would much rather have this twist in his hands, and we'll see how he uses it. He just has to wait a little bit longer, and he can use it soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we head to the reward challenge, or as I like to call it, the "Gonna See Some Tatas Tonight" challenge. As we're walking.
I know.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
You are good. We are just getting into the reward challenge. So
You guys got fast.
Yeah, as we get to the reward challenge, it's Michaela's Gonna See Some Tatas Tonight challenge, where they're fighting in the water for a life ring. The winner will get peanut butter and jelly and also get to send someone to Ghost Island. What did you guys think about this change in the Ghost Island mechanism, that someone will get to go there and come back before Tribal instead of what we've seen the 3 rounds previous?
For me, it was disappointing. I didn't see the point of it. Because I like when they get to pick someone that has safety, you know, or draw rocks and you have safety. It was a pointless, what's the word I want to look for?
No, I agree with you. It was pretty pointless, which we'll get into what happened on Ghost Island a little bit later. But I did like this. I like the change. I like them changing things up. I definitely did like the old way where it really put a twist on the vote.
Yes, but, to me, that's what I like. I need to see a vote twist. I need to see something matter at Tribal.
Yeah.
And it just like, oh, she went to Ghost Island. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have anything on that one, Doug, besides...
I don't like that they changed it just because they changed it so quickly. I like when they change how people get there. I don't like when they change what happens. And I think this is a bit results oriented, but I'm disappointed that they did it the way they did it this round specifically, because we would have seen another 4 versus 4 original Malolo versus original to VT split.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we got a great tribal council, but it would have been different.
I agree with you there. And well, one thing that we do know, I think they told us at the first episode, I think it's something that that was said, is supposedly there's 13 urns there waiting. So this was only number 4. We still have a lot more Ghost Island to go. So I'm fine with them throwing a little bit of change into things, and as things go, and as we eventually merge, we'll see how the Ghost Island twist happens. But I'm torn on this one if I liked it or not. But as we get into the challenge, we hear the first words ever spoken by Chelsea on Survivor is I'll sit out.
Can I just I watch the show with people who are mostly casual viewers. I think because they watch with me, they're probably like a half step above.
Yeah.
I asked them before we even got to this moment, I said, does anybody know who Chelsea is? And all of them turned and looked at me like, who?
Yeah.
Who are you talking about? Because I thought that was what was going to happen. And sure enough, nobody in the room knew who she was at all.
Yeah, you forget she's there.
Yeah, I'll speak more on Chelsea as we get later into discussing things. But I loved that this is the first time we see her as I'll sit out.
Do you think it's foreshadowing?
I don't know. And because she did speak up a little bit later in an important stance. So, yeah. But then as this challenge goes, not a whole lot in this challenge. It's fighting in the water over the life ring. Navidi ends up winning 3-1 and lets the other tribe choose rocks to decide who goes to Ghost Island. Ends up being Kellen. So, what did you guys think of this challenge? Who are your standouts? And what did you think of Kellen getting chosen to go to Ghost Island?
Laurel was the huge standout, I think, for sure. I don't remember much else from the challenge aside from Laurel beasting it.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I agree. I also, even though I hate to do it, I got to give some credit to Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Chris dominated the first round with Wendell. Chris is very fast in the water. If you look at every water challenge, he's usually the fastest, furthest along. Yeah. He had a good strategy with Wendell in that first round to beat Brendan and Michael. I agree that Laurel was the definite standout, but on the rewatch, Chris deserves some credit as well.
For sure.
For his good showing.
It's interesting because I thought that Chris was going to be all talk, and he has actually backed it up, not just in challenges, but he actually has like a decent mind for what's going on, whether he's successful or not.
Yeah, I may not like him, but he has a brain that thinks about the game and is not just all talk. I agree with you.
He's better than Dominic. Sorry, Saul, when you listen to this.
Yeah. Kim hates Dominic, as we've learned.
I don't hate him. He seems like a fun, nice guy. I just think his game sucks. He's nice. Like, here we go. Chris is kind of cocky and arrogant. Dominic has a little bit of it, but Dominic's nice. Mm-hmm. A little bit nicer, but he just sucks at the game. He just sucks so bad. And we're going to get into the I have an idol, I have a fake idol, I don't have an idol, I have an idol.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we move on to Ghost Island, a couple shout outs to the chat room. I see Patty, I see Blake, I see Saul. If you're in the chat room, let us know. Submit your questions. Tell us when you disagree with Doug. Everything. Just keep us posted. As we move to Ghost Island, we see Kellen is very scared to go to Ghost Island alone. This is her biggest fear is to be alone, which is interesting because she just got divorced. So I don't know if there's something psychological there. But she also ends up getting the same game that Jacob got earlier in the season, where she gets to pick a bamboo shoot. And but if she picks the wrong one, she loses her vote. She ends up protecting her vote and not playing the game. Without going too much further into foreshadowing on being results oriented, what did you think of this decision at the time? We will revisit this conversation in a little bit.
Yes.
But at the time of the episode, what did you think of this decision?
There were two very distinctly different reactions in the room that I was watching. There was the what's the smart move and what did we want to see? Smart that she kept her vote, I think. Although, again, that's hard not to think of it as results oriented. But I do think in both of these cases, it's probably always a bit smarter to keep your vote. I think it's even smarter now that they've shuffled and swapped in such an even way. But I would be lying if I said that our entire room wasn't super bummed that she didn't play. Well, everyone booed her.
I think it very much depends on the person in your situation. For Jacob, it was the right decision for Jacob. He was on the bottom. He needed to do something. For Kellen, she's in a power position with the majority. She needs to protect that majority right now. And I think at that time, I think she made the right decision for that. One thing that's very interesting to think about is, does this basically guarantee that the same game is happening next week since she said no? Is that why the next two, the second and third Ghost Island notes were no, because Jacob actually won the prize? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's something to think about there.
Maybe.
But
I don't know.
I wanted to say, for me, I get that, part of Survivor in the beginning is definitely a group effort. But in the back of my mind, I would have taken the chance and I would have gone for what potentially could have helped me further in this game. Because here's the thing, we don't know what it was. We don't know what she could have potentially opened. It could have been a secret idol that you play after the vote. You don't know what it is. Yeah. And I would have gone for it because ultimately I would have not said anything. I wouldn't have said anything, and they could have tried to figure out who didn't vote, but who cares? I would have still been safe. She was safe no matter what.
Yeah, but if there's the sketchy thing of, hey, someone didn't vote, what's happening? Oh, let's look at the girl that just got back from Ghost Island.
Right, but again, you would have had 3 days to recover from that, and you could have shared what your
side survives. Right, you're walking into it 4-4 then.
But I still think that she would have been safe regardless. Even if her side didn't survive, she could have totally played it on the other side.
I think it's a lot of unnecessary attention on her. If she does do this and it backfires, it's a lot of unnecessary negative attention. Because right now, the only attention on her is good, positive. People like her. She's good at puzzles. And that's another thing I want to get into a little bit later, is the way that Kellen's playing the game. Because I have some thoughts there. But I just think if she made this decision and anything sketchy went down at camp, that's a lot of unnecessary attention on her at this point in the game, where she just needs to survive to the merge.
Well, here we go. What if she had not done it? Right? And she ended up picking the wrong one, and I lose a vote. She goes to her tribe and says, I picked it for us. I thought maybe there would have been some advantage to help us, and now I'm screwed. What can we do to rectify this?
Here's why I think that she wouldn't bounce back from that necessarily. I think that Ghost Island, I have a lot of complex feelings about Ghost Island that I won't get into, but here's one of them. I think Ghost Island is a lose-lose no matter what. Whether you play, whether you don't play, whether you win your game, whether you don't win your game. Socially, it's a lose-lose. Because if you win your game and you come back, there's nothing you can do that everyone will believe. You could show them what you got, you could show them your note, you could show them literally anything, and they're never going to believe it. If you lose your game, you end up without your vote, and everyone's going to believe you have something anyway.
Right, so then why not go for it?
Because if Kellen comes back to camp and she says, I played the game, I lost my vote, and I didn't get anything, there's a 0% chance anyone believes she has nothing.
Okay, but then
they're going to believe that she traded her vote for something, because no one knows how Ghost Island works on that tribe. No one.
And the only person that saw that clue is now out of the game.
Right.
But here I have a question. But I'm going to say either way, they're going to think when she came back, she has something. That's what they're going to think. So why not just take it? If they're going to believe you already have it.
Because she can guarantee, tribal council is where you prove your loyalties. She can prove her loyalty when she has a vote. She cannot prove her loyalty if she doesn't have a vote. So she can guarantee in a time when her tribe is split that she can gain points regardless of where those points go. She can gain those points by saying, I voted with you guys. Right?
You might not think she has an idol. They can say next week, you know what, Kellen did just come from Ghost Island. You know what? Let's flush that idol because she probably has one. And she doesn't.
No, I understand that. But here's the thing. It's a guaranteed loss and nothing gained socially if she plays and loses. But she can at least gain social capital a little bit if she can retain her vote.
So neither one of you would have went for it. I'm the only one that would have went for it.
I didn't say that.
I'm saying I think Ellen made the right decision for her.
What would you have done?
It all depends on my situation and where I am in the numbers.
You're in Kellen's situation.
I wouldn't have played it.
Then he wouldn't have played it. For me personally, this is part of where my complex feelings on Ghost Island are. I don't think I'm somebody who would play for the television show, but I do think that if I were on Ghost Island, I would play every time because I would have such a hard time thinking of people watching the show and getting a wet fart moment like we got where Kellen said, "Nah, I'm not going to play." Like, for me, it's always, I think I would always fall into the trap. And I say it that way because I think it's a trap. I think I would always fall into the trap of playing.
But you know what I would have liked better? If they said, if you decide not to, you still have to pick which one you would have chosen. Remember on Deal or No Deal, it'd be at the end and they go, okay, well, what number would you have chosen if you went for the $1 million? Yeah. And then they'd have to open it up. So it would have been better for TV if they forced her at that point. Yes, you don't have it. You don't have to worry about it. You're not going to be penalized. But this is what would have happened.
You know why I don't think they're doing that?
We're going to see it next week. We're going to see it immediately next week, I think, anyway.
Yeah. I think we're not seeing that because they have one less set piece, right? They can just put them back in storage and bring them back out next time someone goes to Ghost Island. And I am also not confident that the two things. Yes. Part of my complex feelings of Ghost Island, I'll just tell you all at the end, so no one has to deal with it now. Just remind me to revisit it.
Let's move on through here after Ghost Island, and we see we go back to the Navidi tribe, and they're celebrating with peanut butter and jelly. And Angela immediately explains to Chris what happened at Tribal, and he's like, "Oh, they voted for you. That was attack on me." Chris automatically thinks it's about him, which it was. Yeah, Chris and Angela decide that they are going to side with the four Malolos. Then from there, we see Laurel and Donathan discuss the difference between going with Dominic or going with Chris. And they would much rather go with Dominic and Wendell. So we see Laurel and Dominic, and we see Wendell and Donathan all kind of chat together in their groups of two and decide to become a group of four. And during that, we see Dominic, again, for the second time this episode, sit down with someone one-on-one and reveal, I do have a real idol. So what did you guys think of all this breakdown? Do you like this group of four? Was this the right decision for Laurel and Donathan?
I think that the decision... Oh, do you hear back up?
Yes.
Do you hear it now?
Nope.
It's gone. Okay, I think the decision for Laurel is right. But if I was Laurel, I would backstab Dominic and I would flush that idol. There's just no way I'm letting him get much further. And I'm going to tell him it's us four, it's us four, it's us four. And then I'm going to make him feel safe and get rid of that idol. Because either way, it doesn't matter if they side with Wendell and Dominic or they side with Chris and Angela. The numbers are the same for them. And Chris doesn't have an idol. Angela doesn't have an idol. Dominic has that idol. I'm going to flush.
And the legacy.
But they don't know about the legacy.
No, they don't know, but he has it.
But he'll tell them. So my main issue with Dominic is this flip-flop garbage with the idol. I don't understand how, unless they're not showing it, as a group, they're all not saying, well, he said he doesn't, then he said he has a fake, then he said he doesn't have an idol, then he says he has one, he does. Just, my God.
I think he wants them to be confused. I think he absolutely wants him to be confused right now.
I don't think that's it. I don't think that's his game. I don't think he's smart enough to be that way.
He's backtracking off of being a blabbermouth from the beginning.
Yes, that's he's doing. But sometimes you just have to shut the blank up when you want to backtrack. Why do you keep on bringing it up?
I think he's okay. I think it's fine because what I think he wants is for them to always question what the truth is. That's risky to do, but it will always put doubt in people's mind about putting votes on Dominic, right? So if he's constantly confusing them, I don't think they're dumb. I think they know what he's doing because Laurel's response was, "You were lying to us," right?
Oh, I don't think Laurel's dumb at all. I
don't think any of them are. I think all of them think Dominic is lying all the time.
I don't think any of them are dumb. I think, if Dominic in confessional said, listen, I'm doing this because I want to confuse them. He doesn't say that in confessionals. He's just an idiot that doesn't know I should have never said anything. And now I got to keep on telling people different stories. And I do think this is going to bite him. I mean, will he make it to 13 and use the legacy? He might. He could make it that far. And he'd be an idiot not just to play it, because the chances of him making it to 6 are slim.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do want to point out that in this scene that I really liked was going back to Laurel. And I think that Laurel and in turn Donathan did a good job of sitting down, talking this through, thinking it, making good connections, but never really committing to anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the key to them that I really liked. You're building relationships right now when you need to. Everyone seems good with you. You have Chris and Angela who still seem good with you, and now you have Dominic. And especially if Dominic goes soon, Laurel may end up with that legacy advantage in her bag one day. Mm-hmm. So I think that I'm really liking Laurel. I'm very proud of her the way, because you see the physical side of her, you see the social side of her, and you see the strategic side of her. And I'm really happy about that. And somehow, after all that, she's still under the radar.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Laurel is a great player.
She's a great all around, and she knows the game. Yep. I know she knows the game.
Yeah, no, much better than I thought she'd be. I didn't think she'd be bad. I was just more afraid that she'd get that nerdy rep that sometimes Survivor players get, and that she might come across nerdy and they'd vote her out for being too smart.
But she was also a Division I volleyball player. You know what I mean? Like, she's athletic. She played volleyball at Yale. Like,
yeah, I mean, she for me, if I was in Survivor, she'd be one of the ones I'd want out right away. An athlete that played at Yale. I mean, come on. It's like James. Like, these are the people. It's not just their athletic ability. Like, Chris is muscle. Michael is muscle. And we'll get into later how good I think Michael is. Okay? Especially for 18. So I would have gotten rid of her, because that's the stuff. Do they know that she graduated from you?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, then they don't know. All right.
She wasn't telling them.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, exactly. As we move on through this and we get into the immunity challenge, I do want to point out one thing that that I normally wouldn't point out. I am not one to be any sort of commentary on fashion because I wear a polo and jeans every day to work. I do have to comment about James wearing boxers and a belt is a look. It cracks me up because he is literally wearing boxers with a belt. And it's really funny because I noticed in the challenge, I was like, what is he wearing on his waist? Because you can see something that just wasn't the normal. And he's literally wearing a belt, I think, to keep his boxers up.
That's the only reason I could think that he would do that.
Oh, it's so funny. But I just wanted to point that out.
He's probably lost weight already.
Oh, absolutely. But I just thought that was really funny. Okay, going to the immunity challenge. Everyone will have to swim out to a cage, untie the door underwater, drag a crate through the water, and then move the crate through a chute, and then end up throwing 5 balls onto a perch. On this one, we see Desiree sit out. So
I don't understand why Desiree sat out. And this is going to be my point. Angela has already stated she's not a strong swimmer. So I don't understand why the weak swimmers don't sit out. Because for me, or James, because you
do we know that Desiree is a swimmer?
She did better than James.
Wait, where did we see her swim? She shot baskets in that challenge.
Oh, you're right.
So I'm not sure if Desiree is a swimmer.
Yeah.
So that could be
you know what? You're right. Then maybe.
And we do see one thing that kind of alludes to that in the preview for the next episode. So that's my thing is I think that Angela may not be a strong swimmer. I don't think Desiree is a swimmer at all.
Didn't she swim in the? Oh no, you said she did the basketball.
Yeah, she shot baskets very well. If I may say, she did a great job at shooting baskets.
She was a basketball player.
Yeah, exactly. So as we go through this, Malola quickly unties the door while Chris struggles to underwater tie the knot. Sebastian
untie the knot, by the way.
Untie the knot. As they get through this, Sebastian ends up pulling the trap back on his first try, while Navidi struggles to catch it and then eventually pull it because they decided to just let one person pull it while everyone just sits back and watch. That was really weird.
And Chris yells at them. I'm like, what are these idiots doing?
Libby's just looking off to the side. Sebastian and Brendan get to an early lead, having to throw the balls on the perch. They have plenty of time, but then Navidi ends up catching up, and Wendell and Chris throw the balls and win immunity. As Blake said earlier in the chat, all along I knew Navidi was going to win this because we saw in the preview Michael talking about let's do something with the idol, and we hadn't seen that yet in the episode. So we knew something had to be coming on that side. So I kind of had that gut feeling the whole time because I was waiting to see that scene, and I hadn't seen it yet. So I was a little bit frustrated by seeing that preview and then not getting that scene until after the immunity. But oh well. What do you guys think of this immunity challenge and the way it played out?
This whole episode, the challenges were a full love letter to Survivor Karamoan. Who would have thought? Both challenges.
Yeah.
They didn't paint any set pieces. It's glorious. It was fine. It was fine. I thought this challenge was okay.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the underwater shots were really cool of them pushing that crate through the water.
Dude, the seagrass, though.
That was really cool of them doing
really
that.
cool.
I really liked seeing that. And I like the ones where they have to, like where they did there, where they threw the ball up on the perch at the end. I think that's kind of like a weird little game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't look easy.
No, it really doesn't. And I think we've seen it in Australian Survivor a couple times. We've seen similarities in U.S. Survivor. So I like this. I thought it was a fine challenge. I thought it could have gone either way at the end. That was made for a fun ending. Yeah. I thought it was overall pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The challenge was okay. I just was aggravated when nobody was helping Chris. And then when it ended and I reacted, my son was like, "Is that not who you wanted to win?" I'm like, "No, that's not who I wanted to win."
Yeah.
Because I knew at that point the people who I wanted to be safe were not.
Yep. So I think I will say I think it's Chris's fault no one was helping. There was a whole lot of rope and he was holding all of it.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
I also it's so interesting, and I can talk about this whenever you want me to, but I think it's so interesting that this season has sort of shaken out into the good guys and the bad guys. I was commenting during that challenge to somebody that I'm naturally rooting for the current Malolo tribe because I never see the other tribe. There's so many people on that other tribe that I've never seen that I'm just rooting for the people I've seen so far. So it was interesting. Halfway through the challenge, I was like, wait, who do I want to win this? I haven't even thought about it.
No, I agree with you there. I thought that was it was hard because I'm still struggling with that on who to cheer for right now. Yeah. And we are getting a lot more of a villain edit from a lot of people than we're used to seeing the past few seasons of Survivor.
I feel like I'm watching.
I like villains.
Yeah, I feel like I'm watching. I love this season for the reason that I feel like I'm watching a season of Survivor in a way that I haven't watched it since the early teens, where like I'm just buying into the story they're telling. Like, and I'm fine with it. Like, take me along for the ride, Ghost Island, because I love what you're serving.
Because honestly, last season, as far as villains, maybe Joe Mena, he was probably our only villain.
They tried really hard to make him a villain, and I just don't think Joe is at his core. He's a good guy who's loyal.
He's just a goofy guy, and then
I agree with you. He's not. He was never, other than the one time with Mike, he was. That was it. He just is loud and obnoxious, but not in a jerky way. Just funny.
Yeah, and this season we're getting people they actually can present to us as villains because of the things they're saying, because of the way they're acting. So it's kind of fun to just like have a Survivor story now. I feel like we haven't gotten a really solid Survivor good versus evil in a long time.
Yeah, and as far as villains go, even thinking back to Game Changers, we kind of had Brad Culpepper, but this was a Brad Culpepper redemption season.
Right.
Much better than he was. And then we have He Who Shall Not Be Named, Jeff Varner, but wasn't a villain until his last 5 minutes of his boot episode.
Yeah, but no one wants that kind of villain.
Exactly. Even millennials Gen X had no villains.
I want to defend Varner as a villain, though. I just don't think he meant it the way he
No, absolutely. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the only time he was shown negatively was in the last few minutes. So, like, it's been a while since we've had a villain. When I think this season, we're kind of seeing a couple start to develop.
we have like a group of people we are meant to root for versus a group of people we're meant to root against. And it's not when I think about it.
Survivor telling me who to root for. I have no problem.
I'm totally cool
really
with
been
it.
out of shape about that, and I'm okay, cool. And this is where I'll get into that, because this is one thing I wanted to talk about later, but I think this is a good spot for it.
Yeah.
Is look at what Kellen's doing and look at what Bradley's doing, and they're doing very similar things. Why do we like Kellen but don't like Bradley?
Not everybody does like Kellen because she's doing the same stuff Bradley is.
I think
so this is the thing, is like, I like some of the people who are being presented as villains, but I still am rooting against them. You know what I mean? And some of the people I don't really like personally are being presented to me as heroes, and I'm still rooting for them. Like, that's what I mean. Like, it's been a very, very long time since I've just watched Survivor and like just consumed the show, right? So yeah, I like Kellen. I like Kellen a lot as a player, as a person. I like what she's doing. But I'm still sitting there like, oh, you know what? I hope this blows up in their face.
I was hoping. I don't like Bradley, and I don't know why.
He has a little tiny mouth, and he needs to shut it. I'm not.
It's something about him that I find obnoxious, like the whining. Like, shut up.
I do want to state though, I was right, because I hated him since the preview.
You did not like him.
Since our cast assessment / draft, I was harsh on Bradley.
Yeah, and you're so harsh.
I don't feel bad.
I don't like him. I didn't like him. I didn't expect to like him.
And I don't think it's a villain edit for me. I just think he's a jerk. Like, Chris gets the villain edit too.
Oh. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll go ahead and kind of wrap up this part. I do want to state one thing from the chat. Patty is saying Chrissy was a villain, but Doug will fight you all day long on that one, Patty.
I think I'll be brief. I promise. I think Chrissy was meant to be our villain, and I think that she was our ultimate sort of like antagonist. So I don't disagree with you from the perspective of the show.
Yeah, I agree.
I love me, Chrissy.
I think Chrissy should have been. Chrissy should have been on this season, and Angela should have been on last season.
It makes more sense with the theme, because with Angela and the hero and all that stuff. But I don't know. I think Chrissy might have been overpowering on this one, so we'll see. But we'll get back to the game. And after immunity, we go back to the Malolo camp, and Bradley solidifies his Navidi 5 and decides we are isolating those 4 Malolo people. And at this point in time, this is when we see Chelsea speak again. And Chelsea suggests that, to be tricky, let's target one of the big guys. Because just in case they have an idol, they probably won't play it on them because they think we're going to target the weak girls. Way to go, Chelsea. Way to speak for the second time this season. That was a good job. When we see this, we see Sebastian is a bit concerned about targeting the guys because he is a big guy. So this kind of plants the seed for a future question. We see Brendan and Michael go up to Jenna and Stephanie and say, hey, we just found an idol that we found a few days ago, but we just found it. And here it is. So the Malolo 4 decide to openly gun for Bradley and hope to convince someone to flip at Tribal. What did you guys think about this? We're not getting into Tribal yet, but about these scenes right here, about, in particular, Bradley's plan and Michael's plan.
I am amazed that Bradley is so openly to production saying what his strategy is because of what his strategy is. Bradley must have kept this super hush-hush during auditioning and casting and stuff, because production doesn't want another Boston Rob who's going to create a block and ride to the end. Do you know what I mean?
The fact that he thinks he's Boston Rob or Kim Spradlin is laughable.
No. Yeah. I don't think it's that. I don't think he's even saying he is. I think what he's trying to do is take some of the principles of the BR rules, right? Which we recognize not everybody can do, which is why it's funny that he's doing it. But he's not wrong. That's what's interesting about Bradley, is his strategy isn't wrong. To have 5 and 4, if you can keep that 5 together, if you can really keep it tight and locked down and no one bites the apple, right? To keep the James thing going, then he's correct for the time being. There's so many more players in the game. They still have people on the other side. And in theory, based on an old school mentality. If they keep their 5, the other tribe keeps some of theirs, they go into the merge with numbers and they ride it out. We don't like to watch that happen, but Lord knows I would think about it a whole lot if I were out there.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that, like, yeah, Bradley was annoying the way he did what he did in his plan, but I feel like I would have been the same sort of way. I don't think I would have been as like closing to them, but I still would have been, this is our 5, we're going to get one of those 4. I think more of my question is, why didn't the Malolos why didn't we see the Malolos try to pursue one of the other people?
I think we saw everything we needed in the short interaction where Bradley said, well, that's pretty much all I can say right now. You know what I mean? Like, he's trying so hard to do the don't talk to the enemy thing. And I bet that's what was happening. I bet you they did talk to folks, and that 5-some just said, like, don't talk to them. Because didn't they say later on that Bradley made sure that nobody was ever alone with a Malolo person?
He said, I hung out with them as a babysitter.
Yeah. He's doing it wrong socially, but strategically, he's not wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we get into Tribal Council, a couple things in the chat, as we talked about with, we said we would have liked to see maybe Chrissy on this season and Angela switch. It was brought up by Blake that with Rourke being a super fan, this would have been a great season for her. And I think that's a great point. And thinking of who she could switch with, Patty mentions Chelsea, who is an EMT, would have fit in well on the Healers tribe. And that's a good point. I think Chelsea probably isn't enough of a personality to make that tribe of 6 work, where Rourke was a personality, at least in my opinion. We didn't get to see it too much on the show, I guess. But I think it's interesting hearing about some of these Triple H and Ghost Island swaps we could have made. So if anyone else has any other swaps, that I would love to hear them, because I think this is really interesting to think about. But well, as you guys think on that, we will head into Tribal Council. There's lots of discussion at this Tribal Council about what's out in the open, the Davidi 5 versus the Malolo 4. The Malolos point out that Bradley is leading the alliance. Stephanie calls him out pretty early on this, and so does Michael. And they say that Chelsea and Sebastian are the bottom 2. At this point in time,
there's no lie in that statement.
No, absolutely. At this point in time, Michael exposes his idol and claims that it's a double immunity. James went home with 2, so this counts as double, and we're voting for Bradley. Thank you, Michael. Like this, seeing Michael play, I've been a fan of Michael all season, and seeing him play this Tribal Council made me so proud of him. He was very intelligent. He made up a lie that made sense and was realistic and could have worked, because if we're talking about Ghost Island, we're talking about the history of the show, making James's idol be worth double makes perfect sense.
It makes more sense. It makes more sense than what production did. Production, this makes no sense. You are not reversing any curse. Michael just wrote what you should have done.
I thought this was so great.
It was so good. And he sold it so well.
I am so happy that I picked Michael.
Yeah.
I am beyond thrilled with Michael, and I am still floored that he's only 18.
Yeah,
I wish they would not have told us his age, but I'm kind of glad they did, because when I look at him play, he doesn't play like a teenager. He plays
he's so mature.
Really mature for his age. Like nobody would, like when Will was on his season, he not that he behaved immature, but he was 18 and he acted 18.
And looked 18.
I mean, Michael looks like a man. I mean, I want to know what he is, because he doesn't look like a kid and he doesn't act like a kid. He handled that tribal like one of the best.
I agree.
It was amazing. Even though it did not work, it's still so good to watch.
This is what was so great about that tribal, is we saw 2 incredibly sound, solid strategies with one mistake on one side, but 2 incredibly strong, solid strategies. One very, very old school, one very, very new school, and they just duked it out, and it was good.
I agree. And then as we go on, beyond just Michael's lie that it was a double immunity, I think he did a good job of continuously extending the offer to Sebastian and Chelsea, saying, we are your lifeline. we may not be the strongest 4 over here, but we basically have to be a 4 because we were left here. You guys haven't had to try your alliances because none of them had been to tribal council.
Mm-hmm.
So that other 5. So I thought that he did a good job of continuously leaving the door open for Sebastian and Chelsea. I'll go ahead and finish up what happens in the rest of this, and we'll back up and give opinions. So Michael ends up using his fake idol on saying for himself and Brendan, pauses for a second, and then decides, actually, Jeff, this is for Stephanie. And then by a 5-4 vote, Brendan Shapiro is eliminated. So what did you guys think of this tribal council? And I want to go to Doug first. Doug, what was the big mistake in your opinion?
So it's funny because I didn't even immediately see it, and I feel like everybody else did. So I was like, I felt dumb when I was reading after the fact. But the big mistake is that they identified only one possibility for who they were going to vote for. Yeah. And the reason this is a mistake, after you think about it a bit more, is that the 4 people who aren't Bradley can sit there and say, if we screw it up, it's not it's fine.
100%.
And so my initial thought was, well, if somebody's going to swap, they need to know who to swap with. But I guess the better thing to do, I've seen a lot of people have talked this to death. I've tried not to look at too much of it, but I've seen a couple things about keeping it really vague. I've seen people say, you tell Chelsea and Sebastian it's one of the 2 of them, so that they're pressured and feel like they have a 50% chance. There's a lot of stuff, but definitively the wrong move was to identify only one possibility.
Yeah, and that one being Bradley, I think. Because honestly, I think if Bradley was backed in a corner, he may flip.
Yeah. I did love seeing Bradley's reaction to that, though. I love seeing him sweat. I wish they had Bradley pitted against probably like a Sebastian. If they could get the 2 of them to argue, or if they could get Bradley to sweat enough to make Sebastian feel uncomfortable, I think they could have pulled it off.
No, I agree with you. To me, I agree completely. That was the big mistake, was identifying Bradley as the target openly.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can say, throw your vote. You guys know who you're voting for. If you're with us, throw your vote elsewhere.
Yeah.
You don't have to, just somewhere else.
There's a lot of things they could have done. They could have done that. They could have identified Chelsea and Sebastian. They could have really gone in hard on Sebastian and said, listen, it's obvious that Brad is targeting the 2 of us. You are very obviously next if we are the ones he's looking at. So you tell us who you want to vote for. Don't say it out loud. Come on over here. Whisper it in my ear. It's fine. They're already open to it.
Yeah, pick a person you don't like over there, and we will put our vote there.
That was good.
Here's the thing that even if that didn't work explicitly, even if Sebastian so much as listens to what's going on, Bradley gets nervous. Do you know what I mean? So if nothing else, you begin to sow a rift, and you can sit there as long as you want with Jeff, trying to push that rift further and further and further. And if those 4, I love Original Malolo so much. Jacob Derwin might not have been wrong because I love them all. If those 4 stuck together and just chipped and chipped and chipped and chipped away at the Bradley and Sebastian thing, they might have been able to pull it off.
Yeah, and I think the second Sebastian would get up, if he got up and said something to them, Bradley's losing it.
Bradley was sitting next to an Original Malolo. The moment Sebastian got up and Bradley got nervous, the person sitting next to him, who I think was Michael, could have just turned and whispered to Bradley, all right, come with us. We're voting out Sebastian. You know what I mean? Like, he's obviously not with you. You know, there's so many things you could have done.
This was a fun tribal council, though.
So fun.
Enjoyed the tribal council a lot. And that was a fun one. So as we go through there, I'm going to go ahead and go. Was going to go to our draft if I can find it. Kim, do you have any opinions on this? But while I stall trying to get your draft going.
I think that Michael, granted it didn't work. Playing the immunity on Stephanie is what I would have done. Because you were hoping that at this point, they believed his story with the double idol, and that they would have then voted Stephanie. Because if he was going to use if he said I had a double idol, I would assume he was using it on himself and Brandon. So I would have put the votes towards Stephanie.
Well, the current gameplay, and I think Michael did this, is to look at the tribe, say who you're playing the idol on, and gauge the reaction. His lie allowed him to do that for 2 people, and
it was a great lie.
Yeah,
and I would have assumed the votes would have went to Stephanie.
I figure that's why he put it on Stephanie, though.
He played it right. It just he was wrong.
I don't think he waited long enough after his fake out. Personally.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark. We're just getting to the draft results. Happy daylight. Happy daylight savings time. So as we go through here, as you can see on the draft board, I have taken the lead with 54 points, still with 5 people, with James, Sebastian, Kellen, Laurel, and Libby. Kim has fallen to second place with 49 points, with Wendell, Jenna, Michael, and Chris. Mark is still in third with Bradley, Stephanie, Angela, and Chelsea. And Saul is in fourth, still stuck on Ghost Island with Dominic, Jonathan, and Desiree.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I have to say my goodbye.
Yeah, you want to say your goodbye to Brendan?
It sucked to see him go. I definitely think he had a lot more game left in him. It was the numbers. This tribe swap definitely hurt him bad. But I would have rather have lost him than Michael. I am incredibly impressed each passing day with how Michael plays this game. Wins or not wins, Michael will be back for another season without any question because he's that
if he wants to. I think he is a bright star that could do much better than Survivor. And I'm not sure if he would want to come back.
I think that Kim, I think you should have wanted Brendan to stay because Michael is more fun to watch, but Michael is more fun to watch. So everybody watched him. Everybody saw what he did. And I think if that tribe goes to tribal council again, Michael is toast.
They might even throw the challenge just to get rid of him.
And I don't think they would do that if Brendan had survived.
But here's the thing. You don't know. Michael has a better concept. So Michael's still going to work that magic to flip
but he's on a tribe with 5 people who are playing old school Boston Rob rules, don't talk to the enemy.
For now.
Game. For now. If something doesn't break, and it totally could. Kim, I hope you're right. What Michael did was brilliant, and I want to see more of it. I would just be worried.
So, Mark, do you have any, before we get into this last little bit, do you have any high-level thoughts on the episode that we've discussed?
Yeah. First of all, sorry I came in late. I just want to say my word for the week has to be Stephanie, because that's kind of what the whole vote hinged on. And I thought Michael played it brilliantly at Tribal Council until he decided to play that idol for Stephanie. Otherwise, I thought he might have been the MVP for the episode. Yeah, but as we said, it's now what 5-3 on that tribe, and they might even just throw challenges just to get rid of the rest of them. So
yeah, I'm not sure how long we're gonna be here though.
I think they're doing another tribe swap.
I don't think it's next week, but I think it's the week after. I think it's happening at 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so Mark, as you kind of alluded to, the episode MVP. I'm gonna go first because I want to claim this person. I'm gonna go with Laurel, in my opinion. I think Laurel had the best episode from beginning to end. I think she dominated in the challenge. I think she made strategic inroads with people. And she played a social game where everyone's on her side. So I'm taking Laurel as my episode MVP. What do you guys think?
So I will continue my rationale from Triple H, where I typically pick my MVP based on who got what they wanted based on what they did in this episode.
Don't pick Bradley. Don't pick Bradley.
I'm going to say that the person who got what they wanted based on what they did was Bradley. So Bradley walks away with an MVP trophy from this episode. I don't like him.
Randy, kick him out. It's done.
Exactly what he aimed to do.
Can I boot him?
Yes, boot him.
Deuces.
Kim, who is your MVP?
You know what? I'm just going to pick the player I thought played an outstanding game, even if they got their way or not. And I'm giving it to Michael. Michael played just an outstanding game. Granted, he didn't come out the winner. He still was fantastic. And I'm giving it to Michael.
And I think that Doug said it very well earlier, is that what Tribal Council was New Age Survivor versus the first 5 seasons of Survivor strategy going against each other. I think that's a very good way of thinking about it, because that makes a lot of sense in this. We have a very up-and-coming strategy in looking at things strategically versus, hey, we have more people than them, so we're going to win. So I think that's and I think Michael just was on the wrong side of the numbers. I think he did almost everything he could to win for his side. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I agree with that. But I'm gonna give this week's MVP to Kellen. I thought it was a good decision for her not to play the 50-50 at Ghost Island. I think had she gone for it and lost her vote, this could have been a very, very different episode. So
I'm gonna yell at you.
Oh, whatever.
You agree with Doug and I. We'll say that. You agree.
I'm always by myself in all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
I think that either way, they're going to think that she has something. Eventually, they're going to start talking about it. And if they're going to think I have something, I'm at least going to go for it.
Well,
if you think I'm guilty, I'm going to do it anyway. Screw, I'm going to do it anyway.
I think it's fully fair to say Jacob, who made the opposite decision in week 1, and Kellen, who made a different decision in week 2, were both right for their game. I agree
it was good for her game. Just for me, I would have went for it.
Yeah. So as we look to next episode, we see at the beginning Jenna and Sebastian flirting, which hint, this is still a thing. Like, they're looking at Instagram, they're still a thing. And then
wow, really? I didn't know that.
And then we also see Chris and Donathan start to bond, which is an interesting little combination. And we basically see Desiree drown. So
what?
kind of. That's kind of what the preview. Something was. She was underwater for a long time. So I'm all in on Ghost Island. I'm all in. I'm so far so good. It's been a great start. There's a lot of characters I really like, and there's a lot of characters that I like to hate. So I'm all in. I'm having a good time. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm liking it very, very much. So, and people are playing. Some people are playing better than others, of course. But the strategy that they've come up with so far, I think, has been good TV. So,
yeah, I'm enjoying the season a lot. I think what I look for from a show that is 36 seasons in is for seasons to be different from one another, right? So I loved Millennials versus Gen X at the time because it didn't have a villain and because it was kind of game body. I've seen that now. So this year, I want a season that's super story driven and I want people to root against and I want to see it be messy and I love it.
Yeah, I agree completely. So with anything else, you guys let us know where you can find them online. Mark, where can people find you online?
Yeah, find me on Twitter at MarcoPolo310. Yeah, that's about it. I'm tweeting about Big Brother 6, Big Brother Canada 6, and Survivor. So yeah.
Okay, Kim, how about you?
I'm tweeting about Survivor, and that's probably it. I'm not much on Twitter anymore, but I'll try to get on more. But you can follow me at Kim_is__board, and I am not watching Big Brother Canada.
Okay.
Too hard to watch.
I'm tweeting about too much, so you can just find me on Twitter at Ikkybooley, ICKYBOOLEY.
By the way, did you hear my shout out to you a few weeks ago about the potential third tribe that we may be seeing?
I did.
What color it may be? That was for you.
Yeah, I did catch that.
Okay, and you can find me on Twitter at Randy Knoop. That's RandyKNUP. I'm tweeting about a bunch of different things: Survivor, Big Brother Canada, Drag Race, all these different things. Any reality show that's a competition, I'm probably tweeting about it and have a draft about it somewhere. So if that's everything, goodbye, and we'll see you next week on Ghost Island. Woo!
Bye.